episode 166, the Third Eye Truth Tale Podcast. I'm back at you again. It is March 25th, 2026, downtown Dickinson, Michigan. I am James Gill, your host. Joe Hill, co-host. Still sober to this day.
Yeah.
Just because
Oh,
My brother does that every day.
stop drinking?
He stopped drinking. He's a beer hound.
See, I'm not the only fool out there.
Does it every year. You better not for Lent.
Oh, I do it.
All right, guys. Tonight we have a special guest. It's the second time on our show. It's a pleasure and an honor to have him on our show. Mr. Pat Moody, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Oh, man.
So is that what's known as backed by popular demand?
Yeah. There we go. How are you today?
I'm excellent. Thank you. How are you?
Good.
You
Great.
look like you guys look the same as life then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit thinner.
Well, it's because you haven't been drinking.
Yeah, I know.
Very good. We both have it this thing. I
Yeah,
stopped
actually,
in
he's not.
December. Back in December, and what, 4 months now?
You're on.
Yeah.
So not just a Lent thing.
No.
Oh.
A forever thing?
I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see
He
what happens.
does this all of a sudden. He comes on nowhere and he lets
Last
I
time,
think the last time I came here, I brought a bottle of wine, didn't I?
yeah.
I was thinking about doing that. I thought maybe I better not do that because I don't know.
I'm so happy. I wouldn't drink it.
I did it back. I did it. Last time I did it was 2 years ago, and I started in December and ended in September. Okay. After that, so I told on to it for a while. It's my best.
42.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
Yeah.
A little stress.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Back on the way.
right. Here we got the Oberon.
I know.
You too.
I haven't had any yet because of my limp thing, but
You will.
I'll try that. I didn't like last year's match. No, it was too hoppy. So when I asked them about it last year, they said it's the same batch. I said, well, it might be the same batch, but the seed and the hotness of it, they said it changes sometimes. So that's the part that
He's got it done, buddy. He's ready to take your order.
I know.
He's got, I love this. He's got a little note taker. He's got
Yeah.
that here, too.
It's
Let's
the
take a
same
guess
word.
check, man.
That is support too.
Yeah, he write down notes and he.
No tell, man. It's like, I'll take a double cheeseburger.
I'll take a Roxy burger.
Is that like fries with that?
Oh, yeah.
I'll take a Roxy burger with whatever.
Roxy burgers.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Good ones, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he does.
Yeah.
There's a flashback for you.
Yeah.
So Pat, pretty much refresh everybody's memory as who you are, what did you do briefly, and so people know that don't know who you
If you
are.
don't know who Pat Moody is, you don't know who
But a lot of people, now we have a lot, like Scott doesn't know who Pat is.
Well, he's gonna learn today.
Yeah.
Fire him.
He did his due diligence.
Scott, it's been nice knowing you.
He said fire him. So yeah, I mean, just so people know who you are and more your background. So,
All right. Well, I moved to this community in 1972. 1973.
one of the ones that
Yeah, for less. Yeah, for the record, I'm 75 years old. I'll be 76 in September.
you know, look at
But yeah, I moved here in 1973, in February of 73. So I've been here for, started my 54th year in the radio station. I came from the U.S. Air Force, where I was in military broadcasting on Forces Radio Television. And I did 4 years in the service, because if I didn't join it, then Uncle Sam wanted me.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was the year, the year of 72 was the year that they reinstituted the draft lottery in America. And it was basically their way of filling the system with people to take the wall. And they used the lottery system that year to fill all the gaps that they had. And I looked at it and I said, do I want to risk them going to have a high enough number? Because what they do is they take dates one by one. All right. So if your date comes out, as number one, you're going to be. There's no question. You are going to be drafted. You're going to be taken into the Army, and you're going to go undoubtedly to Vietnam. Was basically the deal back then. So I looked at that and I said, do I want to play the odds? That because I was in broadcasting school. I was just finishing up broadcasting school in Milwaukee, and I thought, I don't know if I want to play it here. So I couldn't get a job. Well, actually, I had just finished broadcasting school. They couldn't get a job because everybody asked me questions. A, how old are you? I'm 18. And B, what's your draft status? 1A. That was 1A good draft. I did have a student exemption while I was in broadcasting school, but you only get one exemption. So if I had decided after broadcasting school that I wanted to go to college, I could go to college, but I no longer had the exemption, so they could come and call me out of college classes and take me in there. Yeah. So good story gone bad or bad story gone good. I went ahead and talked to the Air Force recruiter in Traverse City, and he told me about Armed Forces Radio Television, and he said, now, you can take, while you're in basic training, you can take a bypass special steps to say, I have the aptitude, the skill, the knowledge to be able to do this job, that job, whatever. Because they're notorious in the military for taking a cop and making him a cook, taking a cook and making him a chef, or not a chef, a mechanic, taking a mechanic and making them a, whatever, a carpenter. And so, the only opportunity was to see if I could get into that. So they said, you can take a bypass specialist test. I took the test, I passed it. He goes, the good news is they don't have technical training for broadcasters in the Air Force. So they need to fill the gaps, they have in Armed Forces Radio and Television, but they're looking for people that have some skill, that have worked in it, that have some knowledge of it. And so I was able to go directly on the job. Skipped all the technical training. Otherwise, I would have gone, if I hadn't taken that test, who knows what test they would have given me to say, all right, we're not a test, but we're going to, take you and make you a mechanic and show me how to do it. Are they going to make me a cook, or are they going to make me a cop, or whatever? So, bottom line was, it was the smartest choice I ever made in my life, because when the draft lottery rolled around that fall, I was already in. And I was on my way to work at Shepherd Air Force Base in Wichita Falls, Texas. And I grabbed the newspaper in the morning. September 14th, number one. It's the only lottery I've ever won in my life. And again, I won the U.S. military draft lottery. Number one. So, now you can imagine, if my number didn't come up until 364 or something like that, I go, I joined for nothing.
Right.
Number one. I was number one. So, fast forward to, I got out of it. So I served 4 years in Armed Forces Radio Television, and then I came to St. Joe, and I literally have been here ever since. And I've worked through a variety of jobs at the radio stations of Southwest Michigan, as we call it, for Midwest family. And started out as the news director. I was hired on as the news director. And then did the morning show, the morning news for a couple of years. And then I got to a point where I couldn't really afford it anymore. I gotta make more money. I got a family. And so I talked to the boss, and he said, and I said, how about I go into sales? Ding, ding, ding. That's Jackpot City for him. That was Joe McEnzie. And he was just like, yeah. I said, how about myself? I said, all right, but we're only going to do this if I stay on the air. I'm going to continue to do the news, and then I'll sell the rest of the day. And so he was like, not a problem. It's a double bonus for him. It's one guy, two roles. And so I was very successful in sales. I worked for a number of years in sales and radio stations, worked for two clients, became local sales manager, regional sales manager, the whole nine yards. And I became a little disenchanted with some of the systems that they were putting into place, because my when I was a salesman, when I started as a salesman selling radio, essentially I was self-employed, and the radio station was my product, or the so I go out and sell advertising. Um, which meant I had to prospect to find clients, I had to sell them, I had to service them, and I had to collect what they owed, or I didn't make a dime. I could do the first three: sell, prospect, sell, and service.
Right.
But if they didn't pay the bill, I didn't get paid. So, and that's the only way it would happen, because otherwise you could pay. I said, yeah, I sold all this stuff, and then, we're not paying that. So that's what I did, and I did that for many years. And then they started, because a lot of young people that were coming through the ranks said, I can't work on that kind of a system, because I was getting a commission, running a commission for the sales of the thing. And I said, the young people that were coming through just couldn't deal with that because they couldn't turn things fast enough to be able to make the money. And they would get a draw, but against your eventual commission. And they decided, it's just right. So they started paying a salary and then bonusing for different levels of achieve. I don't even know how it worked. But they started asking me to jump through some of the hoops that they were doing with those guys. Go and sell and do my thing. Prospect, sell, service, collect.
So when you're selling, what was one of your main person that you got on that would make you the most money?
Well, it varied, at different points in time. One of my most consistent advertisers and became a very good friend was Frank Pastrick. Pastrick Chevrolet. He was he trusted me so eminently, in the long run that when he would occasionally do a live broadcast, and I'm on the morning show, and so he would say, you're going to come down and do your show, the whole show from the showroom at the dealership. I said, okay, so I'm going to have to get there about 5:30, and he goes, well, I'm not. So he said, he gave me the key to the front door. He gave me the code to the alarm box so I could make sure the alarm didn't go off when I got in there. He goes, you start the show and I'll join you when I get there.
What time did he get there?
He'd show up around 7:30 or something like that. So, I've been there just wandering around, the showroom talking about the cars and stuff like that. So he was a very good one. Probably the company that made me the most money was Meyer. I got the Meyer account. They were big radio advertisers.
How'd you get that one? Because don't you have to go through a corporation of buyers?
Well, right. Yes. Yeah. But what happened was I found out that they were coming, and so the key is to have knowledge of who is going to be here, who's here, and so forth. And so once you know that somebody's coming, you stake your claim. And but then you have to show proof. You have to reach out to them, and you have to communicate with them and say, I've got a contact. This is their name. This is their number. This is their mailing address. This is in the days before email and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I've got all the deets. I know all the people and everything. And so then it was just a matter of saying, you got a brand new store here. Don't you want to advertise? Well, I mean, that's sold. But that was pretty good.
Yeah, so whenever a new place came around, you jumped on top of it a little bit to get their business to advertise.
See, that's why I've been a keen observer of life my whole life. When I drive, if you pull up alongside me, 9 times out of 10 I'll get to see you, even though you're next to me, because I'm always I'm scanning. I'm always scanning the hood. I'm looking, what's around me. Just always environmentally aware of what's around me.
Your head's always on a swivel.
Yeah. And so, and that's what helped me with the eventual, moving on the market, where we have the, what started out with Glenn, you talked to them.
Yeah, we had them on. I
And
Turn it on again.
yep. And so in the Mailmax, and it started out with that. And then when I first started writing for him, he was only a monthly. It only came out once a month. And then after about a year, he said, "Let's go to lunch." And so we went to lunch, and he goes, "I got some good news, and I got some bad news." He goes, "The good news is we're going weekly. So the bad news is we're going weekly." He says, but now I don't expect for you to have to write something every week if you don't want to or if you can't. And I said, well, he says, so you could do it every week, you could do it every other week, you could do it once a month, whatever. And I said, well, what would you put in that space if I did it like every other week or once a month? What would you put in that space when I wasn't doing it? Because I don't know, we'll find something that's now. If you're all in, I'm all in. And actually, it was easier because if I'm trying to keep something fresh and new, so that you go, wow, I didn't know that. How do you do that? Now, especially, it got harder and harder as we got into social media and Facebook and everybody knows everybody else's business in seconds.
True.
And so originally, if I wrote something, or let's say I talk to you and I find out you're going to start a business, and so I'm getting your story all set ready to go. But we just went to press yesterday. I got to wait a month to tell your story. You're not happy about that, or maybe you are. You're not ready to go anyway. And so it's like I get a month to wait for that. So I said, it's a lot easier because now I only have a week in between that interval. If I do it every week, and then in the long run, that wasn't enough because again, years later, you got social media all over the place and stuff's just flying. So I said, we have to be able to get that information out. We've created this great thing called Move to the Market. So if we're going to do this, we got to get that information out right now. So I went to the boss, Dave DeWitt, and said, what if I come back to the radio station full time? Because at that point, well, for the first 10 years, I was exclusively at the radio station, on air and in sales. Then, for the first 20, then the next 20 years, I stayed with the radio station in the morning, but I got a job running the Chamber of Commerce. I was the head of the Cornerstone Chamber of Commerce, it was called at the time, now the Southwest Michigan Region. And so I still kept my hand in the radio, but ran the chamber for the rest of the day. And then, got to the point after 20 years that I said, it could be so much more. So I talked to Dan. I said, what if we created our own website? And unlike other news sources that want to charge you to read their content, I said, no, we give it to you. You're the reader. You deserve to be able to read it. For whatever. And we monetized it by selling advertising on Movie on the Market to all of our supporters, the people that liked being alongside of all that breaking news and all that.
And what made you, like I said, I have a thing, infamous on the area? Is it from the radio or was it for selling?
Oh, I think without a doubt, it depends on the audience that you're talking about. But I would say without a doubt, it was being on the air because it was the morning host.
Station.
WSJM.
That's right. Yeah.
For 47 years, I did the mornings, either morning news or morning show.
I can't remember what station. I know it was on Midwest broadcast. But I just don't remember which one it was. I didn't remember.
Well, when I got here, there were only two, WSJM and WSJM FM. And WSJM FM became eventually WIRX. So for a long time, it was just SJM and IRX. And then we started adding, more.
Of all the years you've been doing it, have you ever seen yourself thinking 10 years, 20 years, I'm still doing live, or I found something else, some other town, some other place? Because you pretty much stayed here after you got the job here.
When I first started out, like I say, after a couple of years doing the morning news, and I was very lucky. Was good, but I was very lucky in the fact that I garnered several awards from statewide and national organizations for radio coverage. Michigan Aeronautics Association for best aviation coverage by a radio station in the state of Michigan. Michigan Education Association for best education coverage by a radio station in the state of Michigan. The Associated Press, contribution awards and things like that, and just morning show awards and things like that. But in the early going, when I started winning these awards, and Joe Mack and Senior, the boss at that time, loved hard work. You came in with a trophy, you are gold. You are gold. So I remember at one time, at one point, I had 3 pay periods in a row. We would get paid every 2 weeks. And 3 pay periods in a row, I increased, It was only, back then, it was like $10. I got $10 more. Yeah, but, $10.
Back then,
That's
yeah.
the equivalent now of probably $100,
Yep. Back
So I
then.
get, so I got $10 more, and then the next pay period, $10 more, and then, but then it got to a point where he says, you kind of hit the ceiling, man. Because keep winning the awards, but I can't afford to pay you more. That's when I went to him and said, I still have that one. My family was growing, and I just have to make more money. I wanted to sell. And so that's when I settled back in. I did try at that point, briefly, quietly, to look around, to see, where else I could get a job. But it was during the recessionary period, and nobody was looking. I got a lot of people that said, we're interested, but we got nothing. That's what you want.
If you had that opportunity,
Well, I suppose for the right, the only one that I was successful at that time in gaining some interest was it was the radio station that was connected with KSL in Salt Lake City, Utah. I had been in the Air Force my last year and a half in Ogden, Utah, just north of Salt Lake City, and these guys said, "Yeah, we're very interested, in hiring." This is cool, but this is scary. We're in a recession, and that's a long way from home. Again, for a young guy with a baby and with a wife, it's like, can I do this or not? So I wrote back to him and I said, I really appreciate the offer. I wish it was for more, but we can make that. I said, I will create merit very quickly. I promise you. You will be very happy to have me. I will work my tail off for you, or anybody else. It's just it's my nature, Gonna work for a man who work for me. And he said, but I asked him, I said, if the recession forces you to make cutbacks, are you going to play the role of last man on as the first man off? Because I will create merit. But if you've got guys that have been there for 25 years or whatever, are you going to lay them off in favor of me? I don't know if that's going to. So I just asked him. He says, I honestly don't see that happening. He goes, but yeah, I probably would have to in the short run and say that. I said, I'm going to have to take the risk. I said, I may kill myself for making this decision, but I'll just take a pass and I'll stay with what I've got,
This is the part of it. This question we're asking is 2 questions.
Sure.
So, what is reporting the news mean to you? And not only that, in your opinion, has reporting the news fallen off for the worse?
Where's that first one?
What is reporting the news mean to me? Well, in just the sort of technical aspect of it, reporting the news means, going out and gathering, getting, the story, and that's a fact, exactly, and then putting them into a coaching manner and presenting it as best they can to share the news. I'll always be as as fair as I can. Always tried to be that way to anybody, everybody. I mean, I go all the way back to in high school. You know how high school kids always have cliques. The rich kids and the poor kids, the cool kids and the not so cool kids. You know they always use the R word. And no, it's just not right. Sadly, our president uses that. Sometimes to call people.
Yeah.
And so I, I was always a friend to anybody and everybody. And I remember my high school yearbook when I asked everybody, "Hey, will you sign my yearbook? Will you sign my yearbook? Will you sign my?" And some of these kids were like, "You just signed your yearbook." I was president of the student council, and stuff like that. So I was one of the popular kids, yeah. But I was always fair to all the kids. And I'll never forget when on graduation day, some of the kids that were just well under everybody's radar. They were rural kids, grew up on a farm and went home and built cows and stuff like that. When, at the end of the day, and other kids would look down on them and things like that. They were my friends, just like anybody else. And I said, you know what? And they said, you've always been so fair and so kind to me. I just appreciate that very sincerely. I said, well, that's the nature of things. You get me? I like everybody. Yeah. So, but to your question of today, of what's going on today, first and foremost, I grew up watching the nightly news with Walter Cronkite. And that's the way it is Tuesday, December 2nd, 1962. And but he was very straightforward. There was no such thing. There's no place for, in my opinion, for opinion in a newscast. No.
Right.
The facts, and just the facts, as
Yeah.
Jack Webb used to say. Just facts, man.
Just fact,
Yeah. And I think it's criminal that so many, especially almost all of the channels now have this, where they just go off on whatever. You talk about the people complain about, well, Fox News is nothing but this, and CNN is nothing but this, and the twain shall not meet. That they're diametrically opposed and everything else.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's news. That's opinion, and that's conjecture, and everything else. And I don't think it belongs in a news program. If you're going to have an entertainment program, if you're going to have a podcast where anybody can say whatever they want, let them say whatever they want.
Right.
But if you're saying this is a news podcast and we're just going to tell you the news, then it has to be the facts and the news, not the this is what happened and here's what I think about that. No. Unless you're doing an editorial.
Yeah.
They reserve that judgment for.
Well, nowadays the news channels are all definitely one side. They pick a side.
For the most part, yes.
Where
Exactly.
you,
And that's not right.
Yeah,
That's not right.
I'm sure news stations back in the 60s and 70s weren't that way. As being on one side, they focus on the facts.
Right.
Told the story the way it was.
Yep.
And let that or keep aside of what you want to happen.
Exactly. Well, and, that's the fallacy of wasn't it Fox that used to say we report, you decide, or was it CNN? I don't remember.
That's
One or the
yeah,
other.
one
One
or
or the other said, we report, you decide. Well, they don't do that.
No.
Whoever it was, whether it was CNN or Fox, they do way more than just we report. It's like we report, we decide, you listen.
Yeah.
Or you watch.
Does the big corporations have a lot to do with that as far as just telling the news way? So
I don't know for a fact that is that's the case, but certainly that comes to mind that maybe that's what's going on. How many times have we heard through the years money talks? know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So maybe that's what they're saying is, we're gonna. Yeah, CBS is in the middle of that right now with the new chief there in the news department, Barry Weiss.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know what she's doing. She's playing the game of, you know, we're only going to say, what the president wants us to say, or is listening to that.
And he's super paramount.
Yes,
I think that's what it was.
He's successfully sued, or I say successfully sued. He's had them settle and pay him money to, walk away.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, again, his money talks.
Can't really beat them.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I hope that's not the case. That because what it always has been through for decades is there's this the old phrase of a Chinese wall, or just there's a separation of this is news, this is business, and they shall not cross. Which means that, for example, if IBM is a business and CBS is a business, and CBS comes out and reports on something that happened at IBM, then it has to be factual, and they can report whatever about IBM,
Yeah.
even if IBM is an advertiser with them, and you walk a really thin line, on some of those things, but you have to. You have to. And the corporate side of things should never be in the newsroom telling them what to say or what not to say.
Yeah.
Don't report on that. No. Sorry, we ain't playing that game. Fortunately, I've never had an issue with that. Locally, nobody's ever said don't report about that man, that business, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, we know that he committed a crime or she committed a crime or whatever, but don't put that out there. Nobody's ever told me that, ever, from management at the radio station.
That has a lot to do with the cancel culture nowadays. Everybody's so uptight with what people have to say about them, even if it's factual.
Right.
Not even the high politicians.
Not even much.
The high politicians or the judges that have messed up. They can never stop you or.
No. Nobody has ever, no management person has ever told me, don't run that story or get that story off the air or whatever. Never.
Because they're based on facts.
Well, because it's factual. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
It's all public information.
Exactly. So
They're not going to get it. Someone else.
they may not like it, but
Can't really cover it up in a small town.
Yeah.
Someone's going to know something.
Right.
We're not a big city.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can tell.
Well, it was. This may be off topic a little bit, but I don't know if you know.
off topic. This whole thing is a rambling topic.
Yeah, it is, pretty much. I was watching.
How dare you walk?
I was watching this news thing on artist called Afro Man, which is his house was invaded 3 years ago, and they found nothing. They had him on. They wanted to get him on kidnapping charge and drug trafficking.
Okay.
They raided his house, kicked down the door, tore his house up, and he had it all on camera throughout his house.
Okay.
So what he did was
He captured what they were doing to him.
made songs about his actions,
Okay.
and the police turned around and tried to sue him for just slander in the name, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
So they lost the court hearing, and this is all of the news.
So the police lost.
Police
They-
lost, yeah.
As rightfully they should.
Yeah.
I mean, if he did nothing wrong,
Right.
I mean, I suppose the only thing they could say is, you invaded our privacy by putting that video out there. He said,
Oh, yeah.
well, yeah, but you invaded my privacy by coming into my home.
There was guns drawn. It was an incident where this heavier set sheriff officer, sheriff deputy, was walking past, going through the kitchen, and there was a 11 pound cake on the counter, and he mankind should stop. So he made a song about that.
Ah,
And
lemon cake.
Lemon cake. I wish I had me a lemon cake.
it was really funny. It
Yeah.
was really funny, and it made them look really silly.
Yeah.
For invading his house.
Yeah.
With nothing. They came up with nothing.
So, yeah, what was the basis for their, charge
Hearsay.
in the first place?
Hearsay.
It was just hearsay.
Yeah, hearsay.
So they had no factual.
No facts.
They just said,
We're
somebody
gonna-
said, I think
we'll
this
get-
guy's doing this or
Exactly.
whatever. And
We're gonna get
Boom.
a warrant and raid this guy's house. They did that. Came up with nothing. He made songs about him, so they sued him for defamation, and he won.
and they lost. Good for
He
him.
won.
As rightfully he should.
He won.
You say they how'd they get the search warrant?
I have no clue.
I mean, because search warrant has to be based usually on some semblance of fact.
Well, first of all,
Gotta be something.
he's an advocate for marijuana. He smokes marijuana,
Okay, all right.
and he's
It's legal
very-
now.
Yeah, it's legal
At
now.
least
Yeah,
in most places.
in most places. And I don't know where the kidnapping came from, but that came about as well. So just them invading his house.
Where did it happen? What state?
Ohio.
Ohio.
Small town in Ohio.
Okay.
He lives in Ohio?
And he made 4 different songs about these guys. They were so upset about it. And it's been on the news and
Too bad.
yeah, he celebrated in front of the courthouse. I mean, thanking America for freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And which goes a long way, because a lot of things that we say nowadays have been canceled.
Hmm.
You can't say anything about anybody these days without them getting upset about it
yeah.
and wanting to sue you for it.
Their butt's getting hurt.
Yeah. Has this I'm not sure where this is stemmed from. Where did we get this from? This instantly you can't take any criticism from anyone these days.
Everybody's got a
What's-
thin skin.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
your opinion on that?
Well, I think, frankly, I think it comes from our leader, who has a very thin skin and does not take criticism well, if at all.
Yeah.
And claps back at anybody that tries to, claim that he's wrong or criminal or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, most people through the years have been able to look up to the president of the United States and say, I want to be like him or her. Unfortunately, we've never had a her
Right,
in that
right.
role yet, but, and you should be able to look up to the president of the United States and say, yes, I want to be just like that. But now they're being like that and sharing that same thin skin and, clap back and everything else because they see him doing it. And,
I think it went farther than that. I don't think it's just at the president. I think it's
oh, well, it was, no, I know.
Yeah.
But let's talk about
Yeah.
who has the most visibility in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that office has the highest visibility of anybody in the world. They always talk about, it's the most famous or infamous.
I give you
Famous,
that.
the most famous job, the most powerful job in the world.
In the world, yeah.
That's what it's
I
turned to
think
be.
when people got the pretty much thin skin was probably at least
Make sure it's factual, Joe.
I'm never gonna be
Well,
factual.
well,
I think it
well,
had to be at
I'll
least
help you out.
2020. At
I'll-
least it had to be 2020
Well, no, I'll help you out.
when
I
people
think
really
that
got scared.
all right, let's look at it this way. You really, it's not fair to blame Trump exclusively for people having thin skin. I think it's all part and parcel to the coarsening of society.
Yeah.
The fact that we all are. And I don't want to say we all are, but we probably all at some point in our lives will have been a keyboard warrior hiding behind the keyboard and saying whatever you think you want to say. Because
Yeah.
stop and think about that.
Mhm.
People say things on a keyboard
that they wouldn't even think of saying to your face.
Exactly.
Because if nothing else, if nothing else, out of fear of physical retribution, how dare you say it? And you get punched in the face for what you say, but you hide behind a keyboard and you go out on Facebook and respond to something. I mean, it's rampant.
Yeah.
And we have become so divided, and not just politically, but just in every way. We have become divided into the haves and the have-nots, the wants and the want-nots, and everything else.
I agree. I totally agree.
I agree with that. I was saying
that.
I'm still the type of person, if I have a problem with you, I'm gonna say it to your face.
Well, not everybody's built like that.
I know.
No, you're absolutely right. I know, Joe, that that's the way you are, and it's and that in its own way, that's very admirable, But not everybody is that way.
I know, but
and the vast majority of people are not that way because everybody's like walking around on eggshells. I don't want to say until they get into the social media realm, and then it's Katie bar the door. I'm going to say whatever the hell I want to say. I'm going to say it as loud as I want to say it. I'm going to say it as crass as I want to say it. I'm going to be as mean as I want to be about it, and I'm going to just stomp you into the dirt.
But I think it's also how people were raised and on what era of their life they were raised in. Because now the millennials are more like what you guys were saying, where they're hiding behind a piece of glass. They're hiding behind the glass curtain. And they're telling people how they feel, and they can probably see them, but they're afraid to approach that person past that glass wall.
Right.
And I think it's in the times of now, but not the times back then. I mean, it's also how you were raised and who's raising you, because these people that are raising them are still in the same kind of era of not having, I hate to say it, the balls to approach somebody and saying, hey, I have a problem with you.
You know what? That's partially right, but I think that everyone's guilty of it to a degree.
Right.
Look at
we've all bullied somebody at some point in our life.
Look at Yelp for instance, right? Yelp. People are always putting comments about something on there.
Oh,
what they didn't,
Yelp. Yes.
What they didn't like about a restaurant.
Right.
And you can definitely hide behind a keyboard.
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
And
you don't even have to put your real name on.
You don't. You don't.
Or
anonymous or just a letter. No, you don't.
I didn't know that.
You don't.
I've never done it.
You can put a nickname or whatever.
Yep.
And
the one
never link it to you.
The one for me, the one saving grace, the vast majority of the time on Facebook is that you, for the most part, have had to use your own name and likeness, when you're on there in order to have an account. No, but seriously, because at least then I know that it's you saying something to me, whether it's, above board, below board, or, in a kind way or a nasty way or whatever. But on most of the rest of the platforms, you don't have to. You create your username on X, on
Instagram,
Threads. You can have any fake name that you want. As a matter of fact, you have famous people's names being used, but it's not them saying it. That's why they had the blue check, to verify that's really me.
Exactly. What the hell's Threads?
You said you never heard of Threads?
No. Yeah, Joe, get it from under that rock, brother. You gotta catch up with the times.
Sorry, I don't need to. I don't need another platform to go on.
Well, or Instagram. You don't have to use a real name. You can create everything other, I think, than Facebook and probably LinkedIn.
Yeah,
but that's more business oriented. But even that's getting a little coarser now. People are saying whatever the hell they want to say there too.
It is.
But those about there's only a handful where you have to have your real name and in many cases a likeness. Although you don't have to always have a picture there. You can put a picture of your cat, as your avatar.
Yeah.
But most of the rest of them, you can use any made-up name that you want, and you can hide behind that and say whatever you want.
My avatar is always something totally off the wall that doesn't even look like me.
Because you're afraid.
I have
afraid
hair.
To show yourself.
No, I have hair because I'm thinking my avatar, my eyes and avatar is something that I think that my alter ego is.
No, okay.
I have a guy that has a big old giant afro hair and still wearing shorts and a t-shirt.
Or something that you want to have.
Yeah.
It's something you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's an avatar.
That's a Joe Hill wannabe.
Yeah.
It is.
With all that hair.
With all that hair. Hell yeah. The hair I used to have and wish I still had.
If only I had some
Yeah.
hair.
I do. I mean, that's how my avatar is, even on Snap.
Yeah.
When I talked to my daughter, she said, Dad, you need to change your avatar to look like you. I said, why? It's wearing the clothes I would wear. Flip-flops, shorts, and a t-shirt or a jacket
Yeah.
or a hoodie.
But yeah, the bottom line is on all this, I think that we really, society has become so coarse. We have zero tolerance. There's no wait state anymore. I'm going to respond right now. One of the best advices, the pieces that I've ever heard or seen is if you're going to send a text or an email, write it out, walk away, come back and reread it, walk away, come back,
I heard that.
And
yeah.
if you still feel that way, then okay, go ahead and send it.
Yeah.
Or even, or like a letter,
Yep.
print it out, put it in a drawer and pull it out tomorrow. And if you still feel the same way, then go ahead and mail it or whatever, But most people instant regret. They go, oh man, I shouldn't have done that.
That's why when people always say when you fight with someone that you love or someone that you care for, anything like that, words are going to come out hateful and you cannot take back the words.
Yeah. Heat of the
But
moment, of
it's
course.
heat of the moment. It's how you feel.
You can say, I'm sorry,
feel.
I take that back, but man, it's there
it's
now.
There.
You
It's
put it in
stuck
my
there.
head now.
But that's how you felt and that's how you feel, and you just didn't hold back.
Right.
You didn't want to hold back those feelings and those words.
Yep.
That's how you felt. So you're gonna say everything right off the bat, and you're gonna have to take it with a grain of salt, or it's gonna be in the back.
Stand with it.
Stand with it.
Or you have to live with it.
Yeah. That's way of life. If people can't, I mean, you got to grow a backbone.
Words carry a lot of weight.
No question.
And so that's why you should always choose your words wisely before you, just like you said, write an email, walk away, come back. Walk away, come back.
Yep.
If you feel the same way.
If you still feel the same way, then okay, guess go ahead and send it. You'll probably still regret it.
But people don't think that way though.
No, I don't. They don't. No, they don't. They can't hammer it out fast enough. Send right now.
Oh man, that's out there.
And how many? And this is the thing that drives me nuts, because I'm a voracious reader, so I'm always looking at words all the time, and the mistypes and the misspelling and everything. I just go, geez, you couldn't take a couple of seconds to make sure that it said what you wanted it to say.
Then with all the punctuations.
No, I don't. Thanks, Pat.
Well, I remember. Hey, one of the guys that worked for me at the chamber years ago, he was working with units of government and so forth, and so he wanted to put out a notice to alert folks that there was going to be a public hearing, and he hammers it out. He sent it out as a pubic hearing. And he goes, wow, what are we listening to at this pubic hearing? And I caught it and I said, geez, man. He goes, well, I read it through a spell check. I said, so what? It's a word.
It's still a word.
It's still a word.
See, James, I'm not the only one that does this stuff. I sound it out and it has another whole word. Actually, people, what they do to me is say, oh, you're just talking Joeish. I have my own, way.
Yeah.
People said, oh, I had to fill in the words.
There's Spanish, there's English, and there's Joeish.
Yeah, the funny part is people said, you miss a word here and there, but I filled in like what you wanted to say. I said, oh. That's Joeish.
You know what I meant.
I said, yeah, you know what I meant. You filled in the blank, I guess. Thanks. You put the right adjective in there, I hope.
That's called gapish.
Yeah.
I left another gap in there.
I do.
You fill it out the way you want.
They do that. I said, did it read it correctly when you put it in? Yeah. I said, point.
There you go.
Got my point across.
Just come to the next pubic hearing and we'll talk about it.
Yes.
I do spell check a lot more now.
But the classic is he was like, but I ran it through spell check. And I said, it's still a word. That's why you still have to proofread it. You can't just run it through something
Yeah.
automatic.
The funny thing is, he says, it was way back when we were all hanging out as groups of friends, and we were playing this game. He said, "Sound it out." I said, "It still doesn't work. If I can't know how to spell it, it ain't gonna work."
Well, and
Yeah, you can.
and English
So
and
you
English
say the
is
word.
but English is a bizarre language.
Yeah.
The written, language is very bizarre because, well, you've seen the pieces, where how do you, there's a guy that does that with Michigan names, I think, and he goes, so if you do this, what would that say? For example, he goes, MEIJER apostrophe. No, he's just MEIJER. He goes, how do you say that? Meager? No, it's Meyer. And
Hey,
he goes, and
Sounds like something Joe would do.
see?
Sorry.
Hey, Scott, you're not laughing. Thanks, Scott, for not laughing. Thanks.
that's because Scott's going, what's Meager? What's Meyer?
Man. Sorry. There's no S.
There's no-
Hey, there is none. You're absolutely
you're
right.
right.
Now here's a classic story in that
I
regard.
say Myers though.
And remember, it was my account.
Yeah.
And so I got a letter one day at the radio station from the president, the CEO of Meyer Corporation. All right. And he said, as I drive around this state and I listen to our advertising, and so forth, and I hear people talking about our company on the radio, he says, I hear way too many people putting an S on it and saying Myers, Myers, Myers. He goes, it is not my, and he goes, and if your station has, if you have any of that on your station and you don't get it off, he goes, we will cease operations with you and you will never get another dime from our company again.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah, he was just,
He was
that's
just
how
joking around.
strongly I felt about it. But I thought to myself, that's an awful big club you're carrying there for somebody who every day of your existence in store after store after store all across the corporation accept checks made out to MEIJER apostrophe S. You accept them and you cash them like there's no tomorrow. So
no
where's
problem with that.
you got no problem cashing the checks made out to Myers, but if somebody calls it that, I thought that was just hilarious.
Well,
I thought, man,
When I hear people like that, I hear people through town saying, "How's St. Joe's?"
I know.
said, "Where do you get the S?" And
Yeah.
that actually
Well,
that just drives me up a
Well,
wall.
even
wall.
it drives a lot of people nuts. It's not, because there are communities that are St. Joseph that go as St. Joe's. That's just, it's
Or,
just,
how's St. Joseph's?
Yeah.
I said,
yeah.
how's
the other-
Chicago's?
Yeah, really.
you know what really it really
Have you
makes
been to
me laugh.
Cleveland's?
Yeah. Why are you saying? Then they say, why are you adding an S on Chicago? I said, because you just add an S to my account. Why not add it to your town?
Let's go to Milwaukee's.
Yeah.
It's really funny how people in St. Joe get upset about that.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
I know.
it's hilarious.
Well,
Drives
and-
me up a wall.
Well, and and one of our most famous guys to come through and call it that early on was Jack Nicholas when he was
Yeah,
working on the
he
Oh,
course.
did.
really?
Yeah,
did,
he
yeah,
said,
he worked
he
on
said
the
the people of
course.
St. Joe's have been really good. And he goes,
Yeah.
Jack.
Don't take that.
Do
F.
not say that. Do not say that, Jack.
That's why you just built it in Benton
You
Harbor.
will never come back to the town again.
That's why we're saying it's in Benton Harbor now.
At least he didn't call it Benton Harbors.
I know. I never understood how people could add an S to a
Or
town.
you could add, or you could call it Benton's Harbor.
You could, yeah.
It's funny how people add something to a town and just add something like the Myers or St. Joe's or anything like that. But if you go to their town, they get mad about it.
I know.
So
Well, everybody's defensive about their turf.
Yeah.
I want to protect my turf.
yeah, I need to go to Detroit's.
Jeez. Don't you go peeing on somebody else's turf. Okay.
I have.
Don't go doing that.
I do all-
Joe and his public urination.
my town now. It's St. Joe's.
Or is that pubic?
Yeah.
It's my town now. It's St. Joe's area now.
Yeah.
Joe's.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Plural. We're claiming it.
Does that belong to Joe or is
Yeah.
it Joe's?
That's right. So I do have a question about your
Fire away.
now when you're doing stuff now. Do you miss doing more of the radio of the back in the day to what you're doing more now, just part-time or full-time gigs that you used to do?
Not really, because it's kind of the old been there, done that. I mean, I loved. No, really, I
like that,
loved
though.
being
I
on
like
the
that.
radio. I loved, being there. My first alarm for years used to go off between 2:30 and 3:00 in the morning.
Dude,
So,
that's what, that's when
so I
I'm
was
going
at
to-
my show would start
that's when I'm
at
going to bed.
my show would start at 4:55 a.m. And so, I want to be ready. I'm not one of these guys. And I used to laugh because the rock jocks and the country music jocks, come in the building 5 minutes before showtime. I've already been there for an hour and a half. No, it is a little bit different because I got all this news I've got to write.
Yeah.
Well, and the worst part is in the early days. Keep in mind, like I said, I'm 75. When I started at the radio station, there was no such thing as a cell phone. There was no such thing as a fax machine.
Mhm.
There was no such thing as a computer. There was no such thing as GPS. There was no such thing. I mean, all of these, things. I did manage to have at least an electric typewriter, but there was no such thing as a computer or anything like that. So I had to physically go, and if I wanted to cover the police beat,
Yeah.
I would visit. I would go physically get in my car at 2:00 in the morning and drive to the St. Joseph Police Department, the Benton Harbor Police Department, the Berrien County Sheriff's Department, the Michigan State Police Post, which at that time was
It was
over
in
by
the
the
house.
old Ramada.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
really?
Yeah, it was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would go to the St. Joseph
That's
Township Police
right,
Department. I would go to the Benton Township Police Department, and I'd go to the fire departments for those communities and just find out, was there anything overnight that happened?
Traveling.
It was.
Yeah, that's a lot. Of traveling.
And then if they did have a police report about something, they would give me the police report and I could read it and I'd have to take notes. They wouldn't give me a copy of it, or they wouldn't
Wow.
I couldn't even pick up the phone and just ask them.
Yep.
Say, did anything happen last night? Come down and see. We'll show you the reports when you get here or whatever. And I said, guys, I'm one guy. I've got all these departments I have to go. They go, well, you can damn well be like the guy from the Herald Palladium. I said, yeah, but that's his only beat. He only does the police beat. I have to do the police beat. I have to do the fire beat. I have to do the county, the city commission, the board of education meetings. The county board
you had to
meetings.
type it all up.
Exactly.
Yep.
So now I have to take my notes and be able to read them, and then come back to the radio station, type them up, and then read them on the
Hey, Scott, you know what a typewriter is? Okay. All right. Just making sure you're the youngest
All
one
right.
in the building.
So I didn't have any of those tools, and it took way, way longer just to prep for the day in those days.
So were you jealous of these rock guys, DJs coming in there 5 minutes till?
I thought, you guys,
That sucks.
what really. Well, and not only that, again, I'm doing news. So news and talk.
Yeah.
So my show it started at the top of the hour with the national radio network, NBC Radio News, at the top of the hour. Then I would do local news, local sports, local weather, and then we'd have a 10-minute segment to just talk about things that are going on, and then we'd do a business report and a sports report, and then a couple of minutes, and then the bottom of the hour we had CNN radio news for like 2 minutes, and then so bottom line is, my mic was cracked open like 90% of the hour. You go down the hallway
Okay.
and their mic is cracked for a couple of seconds while they go, that was, and this is, and you're listening to, and then they play the music,
Who was the DJ?
and
back
they just
then?
kick back and Well, it depends which one.
Who when you first started off, who was the DJ when you were there? That was the longest.
Yeah, God. Well, Mike Burlack, I remember, was the WSJM jock in some of the early days, and I mean, there were so many. I
Yeah.
can't even remember them all.
John
as they come
Jay.
through. John was on WIRX.
Yeah, he was there for a while.
Yeah. And Jim Gifford was down
Yeah,
the hall
yeah.
from me for a while before he ended up in the long run. He and I spent years together on the air on SJM.
Yep. I remember that.
And yeah, we love that working. We're still close friends. And Carol, my wife, and his wife worked together at Whirlpool for a number of years, and so we still go to dinner with them. We,
Nice.
and just hang out. So yeah, but there were all kinds.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
There was Wild Bill on Y Country.
Yeah, Wild Bill. We've had him on, and he's just a hoot, man.
Yeah.
He just cracks me up.
Here's a guy. Here's a guy.
Never looks
I
like
would
he
come in.
aged.
I'd come in, and he would say to John Jay, many mornings, "Hey, I bought it," and so I got in, I'd say, "Hey, I bought it." So I'd walk by his studios, doors open, and he's there, writing like a madman, doing whatever he's doing to get ready. I go, "Hey, Bill, how about it?" Nothing. Didn't say anything. Okay, fine. Finally, one day, I said, I said, "Hey, Bill," nothing. So I walked in and I said, "What the hell is wrong?" He goes, What? I said, "Hi." He goes, "Oh, well, I know. And I said, "Well, the usual common response is hi." He goes, "I'm really busy. I don't have time." I said, "It takes 1/10 of a second to say hi." I wasn't even going to stop at the door. I just said hi as I walked by. I expected to hear a hi
when I'm walking by.
as I'm walking down the hall. And I never, ever hear hi back. I said, "Do you just hate my ass that badly?" I said, "I don't understand this. Common courtesy. Somebody says hi, you say hi, or you nod, or you, whatever. I'm not asking you for a 10-minute dissertation on what you did last night. I said hi."
Did he say hi? Did he say hi after that?
Not regularly. Not with great regularity.
He
No.
still didn't do it.
He still didn't do it after that.
All right, guys, we're
What
going
a
to top of the hour.
jackass.
All right, folks, this is 9 p.m. We're at the top of the hour. Third Eye Truth AM Podcast, episode 166. This is James Gill, your host. If you guys are watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, hit the bell notification button for all the episodes we put out every Monday and Wednesday night at 8 p.m. And do like us and subscribe because we are getting close to 500. And we need that to have the algorithm keep going. All right, we get back to the show, guys.
Oh, that's me. So
Cue the Joes.
Do the Joes. That sounds like a bat cave. I always pictured when you keep saying the news, I always go back to WKRP
In Cincinnati.
Yep. Were you like Les Miles and
Les Nessman.
Les Nessman,
Les
yeah.
Nessman.
And keeping
right,
the
Joe.
sorry, I haven't seen. I always like the night guy.
No, I
sorry.
was definitely not Les Nessman.
No.
He was a
not beside
He
not
was
not the
total
not,
nerd.
not the nerdy part, but doing the news and having
Yeah.
that one spot. But you had a whole morning show, so
right.
to do
Yep.
the news.
So yeah, well, when I first started, I just did the news,
Yeah.
and then the jock did the rest, and so forth, and then eventually I got to the point where I would interact, with whoever the personality was in the morning. Excuse me, and then when I took off the show, it was like, all right, now it's all my baby, but I always had somebody with me, like I say, I had through the years, I had John King with me. I had I'm not gonna be able to remember Jason Burgo, the long ones, were, Ray Gustafson, Jim Gifford, the guys, just the guys that were a good part of the show all the time. Spencer, was with me. Spencer Sheldon. His air name was Spencer Rivers.
Yes, it was.
And So yeah, I mean, it was just it was a full hour, 3 hours of show, 3 hours plus. And I remember too, back in the days before anything was digital,
Yeah.
we had, unlike your board here where you got just push buttons and slide pots, we had the rotating
Yep.
pots,
That's when it was
pot
fun.
is pot is a in this case is short for potentiometer. That's what
when it
that
was
means. It's a
fun.
potentiometer. It's what the dial was. It was a
Yeah.
potentiometer, not a dial. And so you had all these pots and the VU meters, to bend that thing into the bread.
That's when music back then was fun, and
It
being,
was.
being a DJ was fun.
It was absolutely a blast. I
Yeah.
loved it. It was a remarkable time, and you had to stay on top of everything. You had to talk about
Times
FOMO.
have
Fear of
changed.
missing out. You don't want to miss out on anything. I am now finally making up for lost time as far as sleep was concerned because I would go to bed at 11 o'clock at night and get up at 3 in the morning or whatever.
Oh, that's right. I had to ask you since you just fixed your collar. I was supposed to ask again. I was supposed to ask again because they didn't hear it the first time, and they said I asked it way too late of the last
late into the show.
I might as well ask now. How did you get the collar popped up? Because that was your actually you even made
one of my trademarks.
That's even a trademark. You even have a drawing of you with
the
popped up collar.
Yeah.
He does.
I don't know. I just it came out. It popped when it was a cool thing to do, and then I just enjoyed the feeling. And it felt naked to have it flipped down. If I have a collared shirt, I don't even like to wear a t-shirt.
Yeah,
or
really? Wow.
an uncollared shirt. I have to have a collar. And if it's unless it's a dress shirt, it has to pop. I don't know why. It's just the way I wear it.
I wish I could do that.
You can.
You can.
There's not a law
But
in the world
You
that
made
says you
fun
can't.
of me when I did mine.
You did it?
Yeah,
I did?
one day.
I probably did. I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt that at all.
So anyway, there's and through the years,
Fits 'em,
people.
though.
There's many times that people say, "Here, let me fix your collar." I go, "No, it's
No,
fixed.
leave
It's
it alone."
fixed. It's good. It's good. It's exactly the way I want it.
Yeah.
That's the way
Back off.
I've worn it that way since God, I don't even
80s.
remember.
Had to be the 80s.
or even
That was
back
the
into
style.
the 70s.
Yeah, the late 70s going into the 80s. That's
Yeah.
when they
Right. That's when it
popped
was
your
cool.
collar. Yeah.
And then it was like, no, you don't do that. No, I'm sorry, man. That's I've always it just fly into the face of whatever. Said no. You don't have to do it. I don't care. And I'm not going to hold you as less than for not doing it.
So you just didn't forget to put your collar down one day while going into a business meeting, and
Nope.
This is all intentional, Joe.
it was all intentional. Look at that. That is awesome.
And he's still doing it to this day.
Still doing it.
Maybe that's why I always do. I just don't care what people think. I just do whatever I need to do for myself.
It's just the same
Yeah.
way with me.
It
I don't
is,
care
yeah.
what people think.
I
And
know.
I've had people say, you look like an idiot.
Get to the
I go,
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then
Say tomato,
in your
I say
eyes, I'm
tomato.
an idiot. That's fine. I don't care. I don't care.
I know.
If you think I'm, this guy lost his soul back in the 80s and he's still searching, no.
Me losing my hair. I'm losing my hair. I know it. I don't care. I spike my hair up.
Yeah.
Like I'll look like a mad
Right.
scientist. People say you look funny. I said, I don't know. Do you want a picture with me then?
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, it's like
I
putting-
don't care.
It's like, well, and why do you care? That's what you
Yeah.
need to ask. Why do you care?
I mean, why are you
It's
looking
like,
at me?
Does it? Do you feel uncomfortable that I have my collar up and you don't have yours up?
Yep.
Because you can put yours up too if you want.
Trendsetter. Look
Yeah.
at you. But yeah, I had someone ask me.
Someday it'll be cool again, and I'll have come full cycle.
Is that when you put it down?
That's when I'll fold it down. Yeah.
That's when you
It
fold
really
it
is.
down.
It really is bizarre. I mean, it's become a feel thing, and in the summertime, it really is helpful because I never
Yeah.
have to worry about
Burning your
to
neck.
burn on the
Yeah.
back of my neck.
I never thought of.
I don't want to be a redneck.
Yes.
I never thought about that. I get that golfer tan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never really put it up. That sucks. I should put it up when I golf.
Just be thankful that you're not a woman who is a golfer, and you get that golfer tan where the feet are absolutely pure white and everything is not. It's just like because they're wearing shorts or skirts or whatever, and so then when they're barefoot, they got these pure white feet.
I know actually a professional golfer. He semi-pro. He always wears a glove.
Yeah.
And
so one hand's
one hand's really whiter than the other.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, and all you have to do is, every golfer on the PGA at the end, they take
Pull
their
the hat off.
Oh, I got to put it back. Put it back.
Blinding.
Blinded
by the light.
It's just, it's the goofiest looking thing in the world. They got this huge white forehead. Just
even Tiger Woods, he takes his hat off and
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
You were gonna ask something?
Oh yeah. If you were one of the top anchors in the nation, and on top,
I thought it was. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
You are in this area.
Yeah.
In the nation, put it in the nation. And,
okay.
And on the top news broadcast,
okay.
Who would be on your side as your co-host?
Who would be my sidekick?
Yeah.
Wow.
Who would you pick? Who would you pick?
Do you have to have one?
Well, the news.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. So if you're on a TV show and you have your co-host.
No, not your news broadcast.
Yeah. No, I meant like a newscaster where they always have two people.
Yeah.
Okay, I get you. I get the question now.
Wow.
You could pick anyone that you wanted. Who would you have next to you?
That's I never have in a million years thought of that. And the vast majority of the news anchors are solo anyway, so they don't have necessarily somebody as a sidekick or somebody, a co-anchor or whatever. That's a tough one.
Would you pick me, James?
What are two?
Would you pick me, James?
I'm not sure. I have to weigh my options.
Yeah, I think we know the answer to that. If he could start this program all over again and didn't have to have you here, you'd be gone like that.
That's what I'm
like
thinking.
A draft. Have to roll that barrel of names.
That's what I'm thinking too. That's what I'm thinking too, Pat. I don't feel loved on this one now.
We had to say that.
I know.
If we're going to be bullies, we got to be.
You asked the question. I gave you an honest answer.
Yeah,
it's the truth. Facts.
Yeah. I honestly don't know. That's a very difficult question to answer. Because I don't know. One of the coolest guys in the world, but you're not going to know him. You could look him up and see because he might even be on Wikipedia. I'm not sure. But Pat Butler from APTS, America's Public Television Stations, is he's a guy who has an incredible pedigree down through the years. He was a speechwriter for President Ford.
Oh, really?
He worked for 3 or 4 different presidents. He worked at the New York Times for a while. He worked at the Washington Post for a while. He headed up America's Public Television Stations, which is the lobbying arm for public broadcasting and public media in this world. He's probably got one of the most incredible, and of course, it doesn't exist anymore. Although in his case, he probably does. Rolodex, a contact list, a list of people that he can pick up the phone and call probably anybody that he wants to in the world. That's the kind of guy that he is. Wow. He's just a fascinating guy. Just a really remarkable
Scott looked him up. He gave his nod of approval.
Yeah,
he did. He looked him up.
Good job. But he became a very close friend. I served on his board with America's Public Television Stations. Basically, I was a lobbyist. I've been on the board at WNIT Public Television in South Bend for off and on because they have term limits now, and so you get term limit and you only have to sit off for a year, and then they can bring you back if they want you back. Same thing with the national board. I was on APTS for 3 years, and then I was off for a year, not even a year, and they called me up and they said the chief, the head of the organization is departing, and we're forming a search committee to find the next executive director. And so we want you to serve on that committee. I created value for myself in that first 3-year stint. I said, that's excellent, that they even want me back, and so they brought me back for that, but I wasn't on the board. I was just a member of the search committee. And then, like 2 years later, Fred Upton, who was the whole reason I think
I
that
saw him the
I
other
got that I was selected in the first place to serve on that board was I was a lifetime commercial broadcaster, so I know broadcasting. I was already on a local public television station board at WNIT, and the trifecta, and the only real reason I'm sure was I was lifetime close friends with Congressman Fred Upton, who was head of telecommunications in the House Commerce Committee at that point. And so he was kind of the guy that had some of the control of the purse strings for public media and things like that. And so they said, we got to get this guy, on the national board,
They
he can
used
help us
you.
out. And so then, in this, so that was when he was head of telecommunications. Then a few years later, he became the head of the entire House Energy and Commerce Committee, even more powerful because they control so much of the spending in the whole federal government, not just for broadcasting and things like that, for all kinds of things. And so when he became the head of that, they said, we got to get Moody back because, I had his number. I could pick it up. I can call him and things like that.
I saw him the other day.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
I love Fred. He's
a great guy.
A lot of people may not like his politics, around here. I think they did for the most part. And, but I think he's one of the most eminently fair people that ever served in Congress. He always tried to reach across the aisle, and that just doesn't exist anymore, which is a shame because we're getting nowhere as a country anymore because it's them and us and them, those and them, and
there's a reason why he was it 3 decades or 2 decades that he was on?
Oh, geez, he was he was over 30 years, I think.
Yeah, I think 3 decades. Yeah. So there's a reason why he was 3 decades.
Exactly.
And people like
well, again, he built value into what he was doing, and he still has a lot of value, I think, anyway.
And he still comes back into town, and he still takes care of his house. And like I helped him out trying to get him into a couple of parts from Ad Ace, and he's just still down to earth, and
he is.
Talks to
he's
everybody.
Probably one of the most down to earth guys you'll ever meet. I mean, anytime I ever saw him anywhere, people would say, hello, Congressman, or sir, or whatever. And he goes, it's Fred.
Just call me Fred. Yeah.
Just call me Fred. Everybody, always just call me Fred. And that's the way he was.
His whole family's nice.
I saw him do that to anybody. Oh, I know they are.
Yeah, the whole family's nice.
Yeah.
So.
His dad, unfortunately, passed a couple of years ago. His dad and my son Pete shared a birthday, May 7th. And so he was always just marveled at the fact that I would remember his birthday. I didn't call him up and wish him a happy birthday, and he'd go, "How do you always remember my birthday?" I never had the guts to tell him it's because it's my same day as my son. It's a real easy one for me to remember.
Actually, I have a question for you though. I have always curious because I don't know if I asked this on the last show. If you didn't get into broadcasting, what would you have done?
Well, to be honest with you, when I first when I was growing up, I wanted to be just like my dad. My dad was an aerospace engineer.
Really?
Yeah, he was an architectural engineer. He could draw beautifully. He was an electrical engineer. He had multiple capabilities, and he worked originally when I was growing up in Grand Rapids. He worked for Lear, which was the famous Lear jet, and among a whole bunch of other things. Lear now, I think, is exclusively into seating for automobiles.
Mm-hmm.
But he had a major role in Grand Rapids, and he really liked his job, but he wanted to expand and get into even more of the aerospace types of things. And he ended up getting a job with, he said, "We're going on vacation, kids." And we hardly ever got to go on vacation. We didn't have enough money to go on vacation. We weren't poor by any stretch, but we couldn't go on exotic vacations or anything. And so one year he says, "We're going to go up to Mackinac." We were living in Grand Rapids. That was cool. This is going to be awesome. So we went up. we went up because he was interviewing in Boyne City at a company called Quarter Products, which was a division of MEMCOR, Model Engineering Management Corporation, out of Huntington, Indiana. And it was an aerospace, firm. And they had and still have a plant on the shores of Lake Charlevoix, on the eastern end of Lake Charlevoix at Boyne City. And so while we sat in the car after we went to Mackinac Island, on the way back home, we stopped off in Boyne City so that he could have his interview and all of that. And Mom and the kids sat in the car waiting and waiting and waiting, while he did his thing. And he came out all just happy as a lark because he got the job. And so we ended up moving to Boyne City.
That's a beautiful area.
It's a glorious area. It's really, really
Yeah.
beautiful. And he designed and built gyroscopes for the guidance systems of missiles. He designed various aircraft components and things like that. He was a genius. I mean, he really was amazing.
So you would want to do something like that?
So I wanted to do something like that. My problem is, two of my weakest subjects in high school were math and science, especially math. I really liked math. Just pathetic.
Yeah, you might need that if
Yeah.
you're going to do one.
Oh, yeah,
that.
definitely.
And so,
Without a
yeah,
doubt.
so it was just amazing. I really, really wanted to do that. I wanted to be an aerospace engineer, just like my dad.
That's kinda cool,
Fortunately, we did have a continuation in the family. My brother Tom also did that. He went to Michigan, graduated from Michigan, and then went to Purdue and got a master's degree. And he worked for was it Boeing? He worked for one of the major Pratt and Whitney aircraft jet engine designers. But he wanted to be an astronaut. I mean, he didn't want to just work in aerospace. He wanted to be an astronaut. Sadly, his vision was in 2020, and they weren't taking anybody. But he said, "Well, it's all right. Can I still work at NASA?" And so when he was working at Pratt and Whitney, he tried to get it and stay as close to the guys that were involved at Pratt and Whitney from NASA, and he eventually got an application out to the team at NASA, and they loved his resume so much they said he was going to Houston to interview, and they said the guy said, "I hope I have permission." He said, "I made 12 extra copies of your resume because there's 11 other guys here at NASA that want to interview you while you're here for their jobs, for the jobs that they have open."
Nice.
So he was a shoo-in to get the, and he ended up going to NASA, and he worked for NASA for like 20, 30 years, whatever,
Wow.
so.
Wow.
He worked mostly on a spacecraft that could be attached to the International Space Station as an escape pod or recovery vehicle, so that if something tragic happened or catastrophic happened on the space lab and the space station, International Space Station, that they could jump into this escape pod and get back to Earth, as opposed to right now. They have to go up and rescue them. They have to send somebody up to rescue if they're going to do something like that.
That's kind of cool.
And so he worked on that for many, many years.
Just think, it's like the Big Bang Theory. All of a sudden, you just have one little thing on the space station, or one little thing that you can put on, and that's just you're part of that era.
Yeah, you're a part of it. Yeah.
I mean, you
So
might
yeah,
not get,
he's
you might get the
I
limelight.
remember one year he gave us all serving trays from the cafeteria at NASA. I said, "Do they know you're stealing their property?" He goes, "They gave them to us. They said they replaced a bunch of them, and they gave them to us." I go, "Yeah, right. You're
Everybody's
stealing
doing
this
it.
crap." So we got, this is cool, man. I've got a cafeteria tray from NASA.
It's like going to the lobby and buying 18 pens. Here, this is from NASA.
Yeah.
Says it on it.
So yeah, that's what I
That's so
wanted
nice.
to do. I wanted to be just like my dad, but it clearly wasn't going to happen. I just
Damn.
didn't have the
Damn
mental
math.
mental capacity to be able to do that.
Damn math.
You're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when I was a junior in high school, so I'm going through. You know, I had problems just with regular math, and then I got into ninth grade, and we had geometry.
Yep.
Plane geometry, and all of a sudden, it's like, I get this. It's because now we got letters with the math, you know. If A plus B equals, you know, and it was easier for me to figure out with letters than it was with the numbers, I guess, whatever. I started getting, because I was getting D's and C's, you know, in math, regular math. Then I got into plane geometry and I was getting B's. And I'm like, wow, I get this. The year between 9th and 10th grade, though, they moved on to the new math.
Yeah.
And now I've got, what's the next one? Advanced geometry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Advanced geometry. Holy crap. I couldn't even begin to understand it. And the teacher that we had, I still remember his name. His name was Jerry Israel. Sorry, Jerry, if you're still alive out there somewhere. He was a genius at the board, and he could work out anything you threw at him. But he couldn't teach you what he was doing. All he could do was do it. He couldn't tell you what he was doing or why he was doing what he was doing or how he was doing what he was doing.
He was a teacher?
He was just doing it. He was an excellent doer. He wasn't a teacher, but he knew that he wasn't. And so there were like half a dozen in the class, and some of the kids were very, very smart and were able to follow him. And then there were us dummies. And he knew he couldn't flunk us because he didn't have the capacity to teach.
God, I want his
So he
class.
would send us down to the library to do reports on famous mathematicians and crap like that in order
To
to
give you a
earn a
better grade.
passing grade. I
Yeah.
still would only get like a D or,
Right.
you know, but at least I got a passing grade. He didn't flunk me, you know. So, God, that was just...
That's
So
Go to
yeah,
the
it's just
library,
that would have
Do a
never
report
worked.
on this.
That's
Yep.
insane that you remember that, because I don't remember my.
Well,
teachers.
the only to be honest with you, the main reason I remember his name because he told us a story one day about how he pulled off a scam just to see if it would work. He made a sign, and he wasn't even married at the time, so he didn't have any kids or anything. But he made a sign: "Give to the children of Israel." With the intent of, I'm going to keep the money because someday I might have a kid and this money is going to the future children of Israel. So he said it worked like a charm. I made a bunch
His
of
last
money.
name was
I made beer money when I was in college by saying, you know, give to the children of Israel, and people are giving us all this money. He was scamming them.
Oh shit, that's smart.
So he said, technically, I wasn't lying to the people.
You weren't.
He wasn't. Yeah.
He said, just give to the children of Israel. Okay, I'll give it.
You don't know who it was, though.
Exactly.
Just let
Oh,
people make their own conclusions who it was.
So, folks, if you're listening out there and your name happens to be Israel, you got a new gig.
Yeah, you have a new
Go
gig.
GoFundMe page for Israel.
Yeah.
Set it for 5,000.
Joe's already looking up. You
I'm
know,
trying to think, how can I use my
He's
last
like,
name?
how do I change my name to Joe Afghanistan? Give to the children of Afghanistan.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I could probably use something. My last name's Hill. I could.
Help the children of Canada. It's Joey Canada.
Something. Oh, damn. That's
Oh,
kind
man.
of funny though.
It
Man,
was
I
fun.
really don't
That's
remember.
the only reason I remember the guy's name and the fact that he wasn't he was sad.
That's pretty good, though.
That is
That's
kinda
pretty
smart,
good.
though. At
That's
least-
pretty damn smart.
Wow. I never thought of something.
Nice.
I never really thought of
wordplay.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, now you get screwed and you can get sued.
yeah. You
Just
can.
like you were
Oh, yeah,
saying earlier.
Going back to the old
Yeah.
people getting
Yeah, that was in
Yeah.
a simpler day and time.
Simpler
It's like
times
Somebody
back then.
you could have probably sued him for scamming him. you
It's
know.
like that guy that gets dresses like a homeless person just to get gas money for his
Oh, yeah.
Land Rover.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he walks, and
I
it's
remember.
true. Yeah.
Well,
It was
a
on the
smart thing to
was
do if
on
you
the
really want to
news.
reveal some of these guys is just look and see, how rough are their
The
hands,
hands,
Yeah.
yeah.
and their feet, how do they move and so forth, and then just follow them when it's the end of the day to see
Yeah.
where they
see where they
go.
That's
Oh,
what they
yeah.
were saying on
Yeah.
this one guy they
Yeah.
caught on camera. The
Yeah.
news people.
Yeah.
He dressed like a homeless person.
Right.
Then when he was taking all of these clothes off, he was changing into his suit and
Yeah.
then getting into a Land Rover
Right.
and driving away.
Exactly. And he's living in a beautiful house
Yeah.
that was all made because you and I and
Yeah.
him all just
Had a
gave
long
money
day
to
at the office today.
No,
Yeah.
he said.
Yeah.
Then when he got caught, he says, "Why'd you do that?" 'Cause he said, "I left my wallet at home and I just want to drive back to it. I just
Yeah.
changed my clothes and
Sure you did.
Yeah.
There was a New York Times or Wall Street Journal article years ago about a woman who did that, and she would go to I think it was Chicago or New York. She would go down, into the real heavy populated districts, where the pedestrians are all over the place, and panhandle. And then ride the train back home to the suburbs and live in this beautiful house and a real mansion and everything, and just scamming people, getting money from them.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
It's the way of the world today. It's
but
tough.
other than the fact that it's a scam, you're not really homeless. I mean, it's like, no, I didn't make you. I didn't hold you up, at gunpoint to say, give me money. You gave money to me willingly. I just asked you for money and you gave it to me. So where's the crime in that?
It's like,
There is none.
There is
There's
none.
I
no.
like reading the
Yeah.
signs.
So,
No.
so
I like reading the
That makes
signs.
me wonder sometimes when
I do.
I'm driving down the street and see somebody with a cardboard
yeah.
sign.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder.
In Chicago, one time we went to a nice restaurant before we were. I don't remember if we were going to a show or what. Anyway, we had some leftovers. It's like take it back to the hotel, I guess. And we didn't get 20 feet outside the front door, and this guy and a little kid approach us and asked us for money. And sadly, we didn't have any actual
Yeah.
cash on us. I would have given him a buck or whatever, But I said, and my wife said, I'm sorry, we don't have any actual cash on us at them. And she goes, but you're welcome to, the leftovers, And the little girl that was with him was like, yes, please, And he's just like, I don't want your damn leftovers. And he takes them and throws them in the gutter. And I'm like,
Wow.
you just told me you're starving to death. What do you?
It's not. I
They
don't
want
was just
that.
sad.
They just want the money.
Yeah, exactly. He
Dude,
just wanted the money. And how many times have you seen that? We'll work for food or
yeah.
whatever. They say, all right, come with me. I got a job for you. No. They make more money standing there
Yeah,
than
yeah.
not always. That's a
I
Yeah.
I like the
and
one
they
in
don't
Vegas.
always turn down work.
I'm sure in a bigger city, they make
Yeah.
lots.
I like
a
the
lot
one
more.
in Vegas.
Yeah.
I like the ones in Vegas.
Yeah.
I like reading the sign says, "I lost all my money at the craps table.
Yeah.
Can I please have a couple bucks?"
Yeah, or the guy there, I've seen in Vegas, the guy that sits there and he goes, I'm not gonna lie, I need money for booze and cigarettes.
Yep. I've seen that one too.
Being honest.
I've seen that one up there.
And people go, at least you're being honest here.
Yeah.
I'll give you some.
And he still gets money for
Yeah,
it.
he does because
Yeah.
well, he's being honest. He's like he's not saying I'm
Trying to get back home.
yeah. I'm trying to get back home. Yeah.
That's scary stuff right there.
I don't know. I think the
Well, that's the sad thing. You can say, well, come with me and we'll go to the bus station or we'll go to the
Get
train
you- yeah, get
station.
you
I'll
a
buy you a ticket.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Then you
no.
know it's a scam.
Yeah.
You know that all they want is money.
I can't remember what bar it was around here. They told me a story about the three homeless guys that were in this town at one time, and they went around and collected actually just cans and
Mhm.
just turning them in. And these three guys were going to save their money up to go to Hawaii.
Okay.
So
To live or just visit?
Yeah, to live.
To live.
To live.
Okay.
So they're gonna all three of them are saving all their money. All three of them are gonna go, and they are putting all their money in this one little bag, and one stayed up and washed the bag while the other two slept. So on. So one day they were at counting the money up. He said, "All right, we got enough for a train ticket and one plane ticket so far." when they're looking this stuff up.
Wait. A train ticket?
Yeah, because they're
To
going to
Hawaii?
get trained. No, they're going to get no. They're trained to. They're going to get
Wait a
trained to
minute.
Chicago and then fly to Hawaii.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right, okay.
So
Makes sense now.
all of a sudden they're all adding it all up. They said, okay, we got a couple more months. We might be able to get another one and then another one. So one by one, they keep on doing the same routine. One night, the two guys fell asleep. That guy counted the money, bought a train ticket
And a plane ticket.
and a plane ticket, took the money,
And he's
and
still
went to
living
Hawaii and left the other two.
Left them
Yeah.
two
And left the other
And his
two.
name is Jimmy Buffett, and he's still living there.
But the funny thing is, the good part of the story now is after he did that, the other guys were pissed. But when he went over there, 6 months later, he got a better job selling stuff on the beach in Hawaii. Came back, got those two,
and brought him back with him.
and brought him back
Well,
with
at
him.
least he came back for him.
He
At
did.
least you did. Yeah, that's
And didn't just
that's a
take the
good
money
thing
and
to
run.
do.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but when I went to Hawaii, when I heard that story before, because I found that out, there are so many homeless people in Hawaii.
Yeah.
They have their own little compound on a beach.
Yeah.
They're all over in
Yeah.
Hawaii. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, if I want to be a homeless person or a bum or anything like that, yeah, I'm gonna pick Hawaii too.
Yeah.
Why?
Or if you can't get that far, San Diego. Every day,
Really?
75 and sunshine.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
every day.
Oh, yeah.
Never been to San Diego.
I've been there on a cruise one time. We did a West Coast cruise that started out in San Francisco, I think.
Really?
No, we started in L.A. I don't know. Anyway, we hit several different cities along the coast, and then of course because it's a foreign registry, we had to go to Ensenada in Mexico
Yeah.
briefly, for one stop.
One stop.
But that was unique. That was a unique trip.
All
So,
right.
midterms are coming up.
Oh man, I didn't study.
Midterms.
Oh,
are com-
I thought you meant my midterm exam.
No.
I did too.
No, I know.
I did too. Where are you going with this?
Huh? What do you, in your opinion, where does Trump stand as his in office right now?
Wow, we're going politics.
It's not heavy politics. It's, I don't want to know his opinion.
'Cause
Well,
it's-
I don't know. I
What
don't
do you-
know.
what
I
do you
don't know
think he
where he
stands?
stands. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
stands
who
at
knows?
2 feet.
I don't think he even knows where he stands. I think that we're seeing a lot of cracks in in the support base for him. I have seen. I keep seeing more and more people that are being disenfranchised by things that he's done. People that said, well, wait a minute, you promised no more forever wars and now, or no more wars,
Yeah.
now we're in a war. You promised gas was coming down. It's going just the opposite, it's going up. You promised the price of eggs and groceries and everything else. And
None of that.
that's not happening, and so I think there's a number of people that are becoming discouraged and not happy about that. But I frankly I don't see the other side of the aisle doing much to help their own cause either. So I don't know. I really don't know where it goes. I don't know what happens in the midterms. I think that tradition says that the out of office party, out of favor party, if you will, usually scores better during midterms in off year, elections, or the midterm, So, and that's happened with great regularity. So we'll probably see that again, I guess. I
Yeah.
don't know. We may see it more advanced because of some of the things that have been happening.
Can he run again?
No,
Not legally.
Not legally. No.
I think he's both said not legally.
No.
So
But
is
if
there a
you-
loophole?
If you
Well,
if-
he's trying to find loopholes.
Yeah. by maybe changing the constitution of some
Right.
sort. Yeah.
Can he?
No. Legally, no. You
I
can't.
like I keep saying
He-
legally.
Well,
I
he-
legally have done a
but
lot
if
of
he
weird
gets-
stuff in my
he
life
can't-
too,
he
but
can't single-handedly change the Constitution, but if he does things that circumvent the Constitution and nobody stops him or anybody in a situation like that, again, we don't necessarily have to paint it on an individual, although certainly one individual certainly deserves it. But I don't know. The sad thing is we've lost to a huge extent, for my money, the checks and balances that were there. You had
Yep.
3 distinct units of partitions of government. You had the executive branch, you had the judicial branch, and you had the legislative branch. And right now, they're all mishmashed,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like there's only the branch.
Exactly.
There's no branches left. It's all just the trunk now. You know.
The stump.
Yeah, or the
And-
stump. Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know. I mean, Donald J. Trump seems to be able to and capable of doing just about anything that he wants to do. And I don't understand that. I find that baffling. And remember, I don't remember what year it was when he said, I could go out in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and nothing would happen. You know, I could kill somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
I could shoot him
Remember
dead.
saying that, yeah.
And nobody would do anything about it.
It's
And that's just like,
yeah, it's a little weird. The stuff that he says in just everyday speeches or puts on Twitter, or
mhm,
it's a little outlandish.
yeah.
You know, I've never heard a president speak like that
Yeah.
ever.
What president has ever said, John Doe is dead?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that,
Yeah, exactly.
which is exactly what he did
Yeah.
2 days ago or 3 days ago.
He has. I don't think he has any empathy whatsoever. And
I still, for my money, I still think that he, no matter what he tells you, me, them, us, all of us, no matter what he tells you, Donald Trump is out for one person, Donald Trump.
Mhm.
He's going to make sure he's got what he wants. And if you think he keeps telling him, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and you go, yeah, he's going to do that for me. He's not going to. If he is going to do it, he's not going to do it for you.
No,
He's going to do it because
yeah.
it's good for him.
Yeah.
And I don't know how anybody can see beyond that, because that's he. Yeah, that may be aligned with something that you believe, or that Joe believes, or that John Doe believes, and that and so you buy into it and say, yeah, that's what I wanted. But in the long run, he's not doing it because it's good for you. He's doing it's good for him, in my opinion.
There's a question that I don't see, but Scott did. Did you have to report 9/11?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that was
Actually,
one of the questions.
it was. I was not working full time at the radio station at that point. That was when I was working at the chamber as well. So that morning, I had left. I don't know. I might not have even been on the air at all that morning, because we had a board meeting at Cornerstone, and because I remember distinctly, we came out of the board meeting to the news that plane just crashed into the World Trade Center. And of course, I'm thinking a Piper Cub, some small
Yeah.
single engine aircraft, that's, sightseers or whatever, and they go, oh my God, we crashed. Never in a million years did I think that it was
Right.
an airliner filled with people, So I had just come down to that news, and so we didn't have a television anywhere in the building at Cornerstone. And so I quickly turned on the radio, and I'm listening, and hearing all this. And then, they reported that the second tower was hit. I'm like, guys, I'm PTOing out, paid time off. I'm taking PTO. I'm going to have to be talking about this, for a while now.
Yeah.
So I have to see with my own eyes what's going on, so that I can accurately report this, and talk about it on the radio. And so I went home and was glued to the TV for the next, day, and for, days after
Yeah.
that. I still went to work, obviously, but keeping tabs on everything that was going on. Yeah, that was really bizarre. And what was classic was my buddy Jim Gifford
Yeah.
had just been in New York City that weekend. They had a promotion going on one of the stations where they had a battle of the bands competition, and there was a band from Bridgman. I don't remember the name of the band that won the opportunity to go to New York and perform there. And so he went along to
Can't remember
to
the
report
name.
on that. And so he went. Sadly for him, he when he left, it was going to be a whirlwind trip. I think he left on a Saturday morning or a Friday night or whatever, and was going to be back on Sunday night. So it was just in, out, and back. And he ended up on the tarmac at Detroit for like 4 hours or whatever, waiting to take off. Excuse me. For whatever there was an issue with the plane or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think it was weather related. And he said we just sat there forever, and then we finally, took off and we got into New York way later than we were supposed to. We did a whirlwind tour, and he said we were on one of those, sightseeing buses, and we went right past the World Trade Center.
Oh man.
He said we drove right past it. We're looking up, trying to see the top of the place on Saturday or Sunday. And what was it? Tuesday morning was the attack.
Yeah.
He goes, literally, 2 days later, the building's gone. So it really had to blow his mind. And then a friend who was working out at Lake Michigan College, and I was on the board out at LMC for 21 years, she had gone in to see a new grandbaby. Her son was a reporter for News One, which was a cable news channel in New York City. And well, actually, it's Brian Conybeare.
Oh yeah.
And Brian's now at ABC 57 in South Bend.
Yes, he is.
And so he was there, and she had just gone in, and she and her husband had dinner at the top of the World Trade Center
Oh really?
on Sunday morning, and she was just beside herself that she was there Sunday morning, and Tuesday morning it was gone.
Wow.
Just there's lots of stories like that. And another guy whose son was in some type of training in the building, and the training was up somewhere around the 100th floor or whatever. It was way up there. He didn't like what they had on the complimentary buffet type thing, and he goes, "You know what? I'm going to run down to the lobby, and there's a bakery down there. I'm going to go down and get." He went down, saved his life.
I lost a cousin in the trade tower.
Did you?
really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Wow.
My family's originally from Brooklyn, New York. So
Yeah.
one of my cousins was in the second tower.
Wow.
It's just amazing.
That day will be remembered for
For a long
very,
time.
very long time. Very long
Do you
time.
remember where you were at?
Yeah, I was at home. I got up and I had my roommates with me, and they were watching TV, and I thought it was some kind of movie or something.
Yeah.
Just so like, what are you guys watching? I thought it was a movie, and it's like
Yeah.
so-
I
somebody
I
just
believe that.
crashed into the
Yeah.
trade center. I was like, wow. And
I remember watching, because I did get home in time. By the time I got home, the first building had collapsed.
Mhm.
And I remember I was watching Peter Jennings on ABC, and I'm watching, and I'm thinking to myself, the first one collapsed. I said, why are they not focusing on this thing? Because that fire looks even worse than the first
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
If this one's going to collapse too, or they need to stay focused on this to see what's going on. And literally a couple of minutes later, here
Yeah,
it comes.
second one
Like,
comes down.
holy
Yeah.
crap.
I was actually
Just blew my mind.
I was at home. I was at home because I was working at the pump house, and I had that day off, and I was married at the time, and I looked over, and she was waking up because she just got off work, and I said, she said, what are you watching? Why is it so loud? I said, you know those two towers that were in Manhattan? She said, well, yeah. They're not there anymore.
Jeez.
I said they fell. They went down. 2 planes crashed into them. I was 21.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah, I was
weird time.
21.
I was 28 at the time.
Yeah, you're gonna be.
Yeah, so it was a weird time. I mean,
That
just
was
to look,
2001, so I was 51.
just
Yeah.
look.
Well, actually, I was 50. 3 days later, I turned 51.
How old were you, Scott? That's the hell of
Going
you,
about his
Scott.
day.
Do you remember it, Scott?
Bits and pieces,
Yeah.
Bits and pieces. My third grade teacher actually put it on the TV
Okay.
and had us like watching it a little bit,
Yeah.
so we actually understood what was going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm sure probably none of you remember when Kennedy was shot.
No,
No,
You
I
weren't around, were you?
I wasn't born on that one. You got me on that one. No,
My
you can't
parents
see
were
it,
still
Scott.
kids.
Sorry.
I was
Parents were kids.
that was 1963. I was 13 years old, and I distinctly remember that because we were sitting there, and all of a sudden somebody came in and said the president's been shot, down in Dallas. And so they did wheel in a TV into our English class, and we ended up watching that for a while. And then they sent everybody home for the rest of the day. And I remember, being glued to the TV for days after that, watching. As a matter of fact, I watched Lee Harvey Oswald
I
get
was gonna
shot
ask- I was
live.
gonna
I
ask you
saw
that.
that live
I
on
was gonna ask you
television.
that.
I was just,
I
holy
don't-
cow.
I don't think my
that's
mom
even-
was
Because
born
I'll
yet.
never forget. I don't remember who the reporter was, but there was a reporter for, I think I was watching CBS at the time, and the reporter's saying, okay, and here they're bringing Lee Harvey Oswald now, and then you hear, the gunfire, and then the guy just, all he could say, he was just totally at a loss for words. He goes, he's been shot. He's been shot. Lee Harvey Oswald has been shot. Oh my God. Yes, he has been. He's been shot. It's just like, he said it like 6 times. I'm like, dude,
what
okay,
year?
I think we
I
understand
mean,
now.
63.
no,
63.
Wow, what month?
November 22nd, 1963.
My mom was just born
She was just
In-
born, yeah.
that year. My mom was born that year in May.
yeah.
So
Oh man, I can only imagine what the United States was like when that moment happened.
It was
Total
amazing.
chaos.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
in so many
Well,
leaders.
but it wasn't. It was really just more sadness than anything else. It wasn't like 9/11,
Yeah.
where the country is under attack.
Yeah.
This was just an individual, our leader, yes, but was assassinated. In Dallas, it wasn't live on television. The actual motorcade,
Yeah.
it may have been on one or two of the Dallas stations. I don't know. I don't think it was though, because otherwise we'd be seeing that video. But
so much stuff happened in that decade. A lot of leaders were
yeah,
shot and killed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was
Assassinated.
killed, and then Martin Luther King
King,
Jr.
yeah.
was killed,
Malcolm X was
and
killed.
Robert Kennedy
Robert Kennedy, yeah.
was
A couple of
assassinated.
governors were shot in that same decade.
just like Forrest Gump said, it sucked to be a Kennedy that year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
Wow. That's insane.
If you want to watch a good movie, it was a Stephen King novel, which I also read. 11/23/63, I think is what it's called. 11/22/63.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but basically it's about a guy who finds a time warp and tries to go back in time to
Ah.
keep Oswald from
Yeah.
shooting.
This is recently.
Yeah,
right?
it's- yeah, yeah.
I've
So-
seen
so,
the
yeah.
previews of that.
Yep. So yeah, I think it's on. I think you
Netflix
can
or
watch it on
something?
Netflix. I think you can watch it on
Yeah,
Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just 11/22/63.
I remember seeing that.
It was originally a
that
Stephen
up.
King novel.
Look that one up.
Yeah.
What platform? Because I'm kind of interested. I would like to
I
know.
think it
Pretty
is
sure it's on Netflix.
Netflix. I think it is Netflix.
That's where I watched it.
That's
It's a series. I think.
11/23. Yeah,
11/22/63. It's just like 11 and then a dot, 22 and a dot, 63.
Yeah,
I think.
he has a time. He goes back in time to stop it. Yeah,
Yep, he tries to.
yeah. Change the outcome. Of
Yeah.
it.
change
Netflix.
up.
Netflix, HBO Max, Prime
Okay.
Video, and it's also on the Apple Store.
Okay,
Okay.
I can watch it on.
So it's
two
on a lot of
platforms.
different.
Yeah.
I can watch it on.
It's
two
a
platforms.
it's a good movie. It was a great book too.
So actually, my last question, since we're getting close to the last call, my last question to you is, with what you know now, And what would you tell your old young self? And you take back the knowledge. What would your last couple of words would tell you? What would you say to your younger self?
You know, I've had a damn good life. I I don't honestly think I'm not one of those that's, I wish coulda, woulda, shoulda, type
I'm the
thing.
same way, but yeah.
I've had a good life. I would just say, hey, do exactly what you're
See,
plotted to do.
I'm not the only one who think that.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
See,
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But
I know.
I mean,
say.
everybody always thinks, well, if only I could have had more money, or I
I'm
could have
happy
done
with what I
this
did.
or that or whatever. I've had a very good life.
See, I'm not the only one on that island.
Okay.
No, because you asked that question. with
I-
somebody
Well, how about
else.
you?
I don't know. I would tell myself try more things.
Yeah.
Simple things like that. Nothing like I wouldn't do this or do that.
Right.
Just try more things. Be more active.
I think that's a very good thing. I think that would
For
be
you,
that would be
yes.
one thing that I would say is just don't be afraid to try or to fail.
Yeah,
Don't be afraid to
exactly.
fail. So many people fear failure. Yeah, failure's not fun, but that's the only way you learn.
Exactly.
You'll learn by making mistakes. If you go through life and never make any mistakes, man, you didn't try hard
Yeah.
enough.
Yes. It's the only way you learn from your anything that you do in life is fail. Don't be afraid to do it.
Yeah.
Do you have a
No, I don't.
last question?
No, I don't.
I'll leave you one last bit of advice, though.
Okay, go ahead.
Because this is anytime you're asking for something from somebody, okay? If you're earning a paycheck and you want to make more, or if you're trying to sell something and you want to sell more, or whatever, one of the best things you can do for yourself is after you've posed the offer, and let me put it this way. All right. So let's say I'm going to say this phone. All right. And I don't know how much you think it's worth. I've got what I think it's worth. Let me ask you this. Based on the agreement that we have, that you would really like to have this, and I would like for you to have this, and based on all of the conversations that we've had about this, I want you to be able to have this. So how much are you willing to invest in that? How much are you willing to pay for that? And then you say, just go ahead. Let's say we've already, how much would you be willing to pay?
$500.
$500. Up to?
1,000.
See what happened?
I know.
I just made
1,000.
the potentially $500 more than what he originally said by asking just two words and not saying anything else. Up to. Two simple words. How much are you willing to invest? $1,000. Up to. And if you legitimately had a hard, that was it. That's all you've got. That's all you're willing to, you go up to nothing. That's it. $500. Okay, not a problem. I'm just testing. But the vast majority of people will undercut on the early number. If you're asking for a raise, how much are you willing to give me? How much are you willing to invest in me as I, continue to work for you? Well, I'd be willing to give you, another $75 a month or a week or, and then you just up to. But you can't say anything until they say something.
Yeah.
I don't care. It may be uncomfortable to tell you. Sit there and just stare them down or, take a nap, whatever, but don't say anything
Keep it quiet.
until they respond to that up to. Because I've found that 90% of the time, you will earn more, you will make more, you will get more by asking two words.
Up to. Duly noted.
So give it a try. See what happens. Of course, now everybody that's watching, they go, I'm not gonna do that, because if he asks me, I'm gonna go up to nothing.
Actually, I've done that. If you asked me that question, I would have said, I would buy that thing for $5. And then you would have said that what you did to him, I said 10. But I know that trick.
Yeah,
I've
have
done,
you?
I do that.
You
To
ain't
people.
getting
It's
that
a-
phone for $10.
Yeah.
First of all,
No, but he asked, what would you
yeah,
invest
yeah,
that to?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see the
You went high.
But
potential
keep-
behind it.
But keep in mind, we laid out the premise.
Yep.
The premise isn't that I just arbitrarily said, "Hey, how much you give me for that phone?"
Yeah.
We've already determined you like
like
this
the phone.
phone. You want this phone. You've been salivating for this phone. You need this phone. Whatever. We've already. It has to be an established relationship where you already have established value
Yeah.
for whatever.
Yep.
And that's where it comes into play.
Yep.
But you're right. If it's just a toss up, it says, "Hey, how much you give me for these headphones? I'll give you $10 for them. Up to." 15. No,
15.
they're not for sale.
Yeah.
I'm keeping
something
them.
you want, something you need.
But
everybody.
but if
goes
you've
high.
already, but it's a case where you've already established value, you've already established need, desire, want, whatever you want to call it. You've already got the relationship underway. You're already in the mix, and so he's not gonna if he knows this thing is worth
Yeah.
$750 and he offers me $500 for it, thinking that maybe I'll cut him a deal and cut him a bargain, then he's safe in throwing out the 500 because if I don't say up to, then I'm either stuck with 500 or I have to say, nah, I'm going to need more than that.
That makes it your ceiling, 500. Your ceiling, you won't go any higher than that.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Mhm.
So that's why you have to
Duly
ask that up
noted.
too.
Can I do that when I order my first drink?
Up to
Yeah.
8 shots.
Hey bartender, can I have a free beer?
Can I do that when I said what's this worth to you?
Yeah. Or just, hey bartender, how many free beers did
Because I
get?
really
You can
want.
get 2. Up to.
Yep. Up to. Can I have 10?
No. Stand
But anyway,
firm in it.
it's
Yeah.
just a little, life advice
Yep.
there because it works a
It is.
good chunk of the time because human nature is, I'm going to lowball. I'm going to lowball.
yeah.
I'm not going to give away all my chips. I'm not going to be all in on that first offer.
Right.
How much would you give me for this? I'll give you, $1,000. If that's all you have, you can't possibly give me more. And I say up to, you're stuck. You can't say up to anything. Well, up to nothing.
There's wiggle room.
There's no wiggle room, but there's always wiggle room. 99% of the time, there's wiggle room because they're always going to undercut
Yeah.
what they're actually willing to pay.
Exactly.
Because human nature says I'm going to get a bargain out of this. How much you pay me for this? $500. And if I go sold, bingo, you win.
Yeah.
On the other hand, maybe I'm just being charitable. Yeah, the guy needs a phone. I'll give him to him for $500. Maybe it's only worth $500. But if it's worth $750 and I ask you up to, and you go up to 700, now I have, all right. Now you can probably only do that once, up to, because if you say 700, I go, well, up to, no, that ain't gonna work.
Yeah,
I'll do
yeah.
it once. So if you go up to 700 and I still really wanted 750 out of it, now I'm the one that has to make a determination. Am I going to cut you a deal and let you have it for $50 less? Or am I going to say, I think maybe we'll just, have to, stay at odds for now.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
maybe I can sell it to you in the future.
Last call.
All right.
All right.
Any upcoming events for you? Anything new coming up for you?
To
pass
go
it
see
on.
my grandbabies. Yeah. My little granddaughter Margot will turn 4 on April 6th. Sadly, they live a long way away. It's a 14-hour drive to
Oh,
go
man.
see them. So I'm gonna go see them, and yeah. We didn't talk about it, but I don't remember if I was already doing stuff the last time we talked, where I have my own studio over the Box Factory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You told us about that.
So yeah, I just
keep
created a
doing
new
that.
one last week, and I try and keep
Keep at it.
making new things there and
There you
offering them
go.
up.
Joe?
My last call for you is it's always a privilege and an honor to hear more stories and more things about you. And you are a legendary man in this St. Joe's area.
Dude,
But
there you go. Oh,
but
jeez.
it's awesome to have you, and it's a privilege to have you in our studio once again. Thank you for coming out, and you keep on living your great, wonderful life that you would never tell yourself to change a thing. And I love that about you because I would not change a thing about myself either.
There you go, Joe.
Good for you.
It's always
It's a delight to be here.
it's always a pleasure talking to you. I mean, you have tons of stories and lots of advice, and I love that about it, about the discussions we have. Thanks for taking on the questions I asked you,
No problem.
because I mean, I didn't get a chance to ask you a bunch of questions last time, but those are something that's been sitting on my head.
Maybe it'll be in my book. My son gave me as a Christmas present. My son and daughter-in-law gave me a thing called Storyworth.
Yeah.
Where every Monday for a year I get a new question that he and or the company have come up with about some aspect of your life. What do you remember about this, or what was your favorite that, or whatever, and so forth. And then you just write it. And at the end of the year, or you don't even have to write it. You can just voice it and send it to them and they'll transcribe it. You can send them a video and they'll transcribe it. But at the end of the year, you get a hardbound book with all of your stories in
Oh,
there.
that's cool.
It's cool as
That
hell.
is cool as hell.
I thought this is really cool. So it's my opportunity to, I answer the question, but I expound on it even more, and share more. So I'm excited to see what my book looks like at the end of the year.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on, and thank you for coming on. So, and hope to have you back again. Hope it's not so long in between. As was it been a year?
Yeah.
Has it been a year?
Yeah.
Whole year? Well,
All right.
I hope it's
There
not
you
a
go.
whole year.
We'll just make it an annual event.
Yeah, we can do that.
I made it a year. I did a year because, but he was in February.
Yeah.
Now we're in March. So.
Okay.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Well, that means I'll see you in April.
Yeah, he's gonna keep pushing it back. All right, guys, we're gonna wind this down. We want to thank Pat Moody for joining us once again. He is one of our, at least one of my favorites to come on the show. Appreciate you so much. Thanks for joining us. All right, guys, for you guys who are watching on YouTube or any of our platforms, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button for more content that we put out every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. This is the Third Eye Truth Theorem Podcast, episode 166. We're getting out of here. Oh, wait,
But
Joe.
we have a Sunday show.
Oh, yeah, we
Coming
do
up.
have a Sunday show. I forgot about that.
Oh.
Who's it? What's the name of the
Claire Ramirez. She's a
female boxer?
Oh,
female
yeah.
boxer.
Yeah.
And then our Monday show is Infinity Salon.
Okay. And
with
Wednesday?
Renee. And then after that,
Renee Bora.
Yep.
Mhm.
And then on Monday we have where'd it go? Lake Michigan Design.
All right, guys. We have 3 shows in the next 7 days
Yeah.
next week.
Gonna be a
Guys,
busy
join
time.
us.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time, guys. We're getting out of here. Have a good one.